Today we're making a pizza with homemade spicy Italian sausage, vodka sauce, and whipped ricotta. Let's start with the sausage. The first thing we need to do is get the parts for a meat grinder into the freezer for at least an hour. We want them really cold to ensure a good grind on the meat. For the meat itself, I'm using 95% pork shoulder and 5% fatback. This is a 926 gram batch, so that works out to 880 grams of pork shoulder and 46 grams of fatback. You can play around with the percentage of fatback. The more you include, the more fat will render out of the sausage and onto your pizza, infusing the whole thing with flavor. Just note that pork shoulder is already about 70% lean and 30% fat, so adjust accordingly. Anyways, cut the meat into pieces small enough that we can feed them into the grinder, and then the meat will go into the freezer as well. We want it to get very stiff, but not quite frozen solid, about 45 minutes to an hour. Again, this is necessary to get a good grind on the meat. Meanwhile, we can weigh out our seasoning and spices. 1.75% or 16.2 grams of salt, 1% or 9.3 grams fennel seed, 0.25% or 2.3 grams of smoked paprika, 0.25% of cayenne. You can go up to 0.5% or even 0.75% if you like a really spicy sausage, or you can skip the cayenne altogether if you don't want it spicy at all. 0.25% red pepper flakes, 1% freshly minced garlic, 0.1% or 1 gram black pepper, 0.1% white pepper, 2.5% or 23 grams dry white wine. The fennel seed, black pepper, and white pepper are all whole spices, so I'm giving them a quick toast before grinding them in my mortar and pestle. By now, the meat's come down to temperature, so we can set up the grinder and grind the meat. I'm grinding it into an ice bath to keep it cold throughout the whole process. Next, we use the mixer's paddle attachment to mix the spices into the meat. We want to run the mixer for a couple minutes until the meat gets sticky and binds together. You'll know it's ready when you can pick up a piece of meat and it will stick to your fingers when you turn your hand upside down. This is our final chance to adjust the seasoning, so let's taste the sausage. I'm doing what's called a Quenelle test, making little balls from the farce and boiling them up to use as taste testers. Not spicy enough? Add some more cayenne. Not enough fennel? Now's your chance to add more. I thought the seasoning was perfect though, so I didn't add anything else. At this point, we can divide the sausage into individual portions and bag them. Let any that you're not going to use in the next few days sit overnight in the fridge to allow the salt to do its magic, and then transfer them to the freezer. Now let's make the vodka sauce. This recipe is sort of a combination of the Serious Eats and Modernist Pizza recipes, with my own little tweaks as well. Into a blender, add 100% or 425 grams of whole peeled tomatoes, 50% or 212.5 grams of cream, 15% or 64 grams tomato paste, 0.5% or 2.1 grams cayenne, 0.25% or 1 gram red pepper flakes, and 1% or 4.3 grams salt. Blend until smooth. And finally, add 2.5% or 10 grams of vodka. Does vodka sauce actually benefit from having vodka in it? Yes. Kenji dug into exactly this question for Serious Eats and found that it really does improve the flavor. He quotes Harold McGee from On Food and Cooking. At very low concentrations, alcohol actually enhances the release of fruity esters and other aroma molecules into the air. So basically, the vodka highlights the tomato's fruitiness, improving the overall sauce. Two final notes on the vodka sauce. First, I'm not going to cook it because it's going to cook along with the rest of the pizza during the bake. And second, if you find the sauce is a bit too thick, you can just add some more water to thin it out a little bit. Just taste for seasoning again afterwards. Now let's make the whipped ricotta. Nobody wants a grainy ricotta. Whipping helps us avoid that and also lets us thin it out a little so it will melt and better incorporate with the rest of the pie. I'm cutting the ricotta with cream. You can also use olive oil, but I like using cream better. I'm also adding some salt, and while I'm not doing it this time, a tip I picked up from the pizzamaking.com forums is to add in some fresh grated Parm reg as well. Then just whip it all together with an immersion blender or hand mixer or what have you, and it's ready. Whipped ricotta. Alright, let's build this pizza. Today's dough is 50% Trailblazer, a high extraction T85 flour from Cairn Spring Mills, 40% King Arthur bread flour, 5% einkorn, and 5% dark rye from Bob's Red Mill. It has 69% hydration, 30% inoculation, 2.75% salt, and 2% olive oil. It's been cold fermenting in the fridge for 2 days and then sitting on the kitchen counter for about 6 hours now. First, we add a thin layer of the vodka sauce, then a light dusting of pecorino romano. Next is the low moisture whole milk mozzarella, followed by little dollops of our whipped ricotta. And then some more dollops of the vodka sauce on top. And finally, we add little pinches of our homemade sausage. We're not going to par cook the sausage. It's going to cook through beautifully during the bake, releasing rendered fat to infuse our pizza with rich goodness. The oven has been preheating on medium for an hour. Launch the pie and turn the flame down to almost but not quite the lowest setting, and give the pie a few turns as it bakes. Altogether, this was about a 5.5 minute bake. I think this one came out really nice. Beautiful color on the crust, the sauce, ricotta, and rendered fat melded together wonderfully. Good oven spring and an airy crust, nice bottom. The sausage is delicious, big fennel flavor coming through. The pie is creamy and rich, but still tomatoey and fruity. Some of the spiciness went away during the bake, so I might bump up the amount of cayenne I put in the sauce next time. The crust is soft and airy inside, but with a bit of chew and structure and some nice crisp on the outside. I did forget one thing, however. I meant to finish this pie with basil post-bake, but I completely forgot to add it. Next time. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching.